But you know why people didn't realize in 2020 that he was a fraud, and they're not realizing now, even though he's clearly a fraud, and he's just going to tell you to vote for Biden? It's because he's doing Martin Luther King voice.
Yeah, dude. I was gonna bring this up. Like, it's this guy.
I was just coming back from Mississippi, oh Lord, and I tell you, when the police violence was out of control, you youngins don't understand. Like I seen it. Oh Lord, have mercy, Jimmy.
No,
I pray for you. I pray for you, brother Jimmy. I pray for you. He's like,
your advice here, cast in a respectful way. But we do, and I disagree with Brother Nick on this too, that I just got back from Mississippi. You know that. You know what the Jenkins and Parkins, the two brothers brutalized by the police. There at the church, the Klan still running wild, not just with votes, but terrorizing black folk. The Goon Squad finally got caught by the two lawyers, Brother Malik and Brother Trent. Now, what does that mean? That means that when you talk about fascism, you're talking not.
We'll get into the clip. I'm sorry for pausing again, but you know why people didn't realize in 2020 that he was a fraud, and they're not realizing now, even though he's clearly a fraud, and he's just going to tell you to vote for Biden? It's because he's doing Martin Luther King voice.
Yeah, dude. I was gonna bring this up. Like, it's this guy.
I was just coming back from Mississippi, oh Lord, and I tell you, when the police violence was out of control, you youngins don't understand. Like I seen it. Oh Lord, have mercy, Jimmy.
No,
I pray for you. I pray for you, brother Jimmy. I pray for you. He's like out of the boondocks.
Dude, there's a clip I watched, and I'll let you guys get back to this, but he did an interview on MSNBC. The clip was posted today or yesterday, and it's literally like every stereotype of like the wise, old, friendly black guy. And like, the host is talking about, practical political questions. Cornel West is just like, oh, this is just like Jimi Hendrix was a great guitar player. We need politicians who are great, thinkers or something like ridiculous, like. Dude, like, you have to have more of a basis for your campaign other than you're a likable black guy. We already had a fucking president like that. It didn't work out so well,
Well, but it did work out, didn't it? It worked out for the elite.
Yeah.
It worked out very well for them. Yeah. So they're trying to reproduce it. And like, I gotta say, like, what is with the automatic reverence that is granted to this guy? Like, What has Cornel West done? He's a Harvard professor. I'm sorry, if you're working at Harvard, like, look at what happened to Norman Finkelstein. All right, if you want to know what's good with academia, look at what happened to Norman Finkelstein. Norman Finkelstein is not allowed to teach at fucking high schools. Why? Because he exposed academia for what it is. Because he called out fucking Alan Dershowitz on Democracy Now! And exposed him as a fucking fraud. Because the one thing you can't do in academia is expose academia as a fraud. And if you do, like Norman Finkelstein and Michael Parenti before him, you get goddamn blacklisted ruthlessly. So the fact that this guy works at Harvard, honestly, should be disqualifying on its own.
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting the clip again. I just had to point it out because people just can't get over the Martin Luther King voice, and it really doesn't go any deeper than that. So let's continue.
Yeah,
not just about the rule of big money, not just the rule of big military, not just the rule of corporate power, so that it's oligarchic in essence, but you're also talking about dictatorial rule, no elections, the elimination of dissident voices, and then the scapegoating of the most vulnerable, which is the immigrants, it could be workers.
So he lists off all these things the Democrats are doing, and then he says, and the scapegoating of the most vulnerable. That's all he's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay? Because he lists off all these things that Biden's doing. He's jailing the January 6 people and the Proud Boys and shit. He's censoring people. He's doing all the hallmarks of fascism, but he's not, quote unquote, scapegoating the most vulnerable. That's all it is. That's what Cornel West is running on, which is also what Joe Biden is running on, which is like, this dude's totally going to drop out and endorse Biden, right? Like, And when he says most vulnerable, he means like transgenders and like, you know, Oprah Winfrey and Jay-Z, and like those are the most vulnerable, quote unquote. Anyway, you can keep going.
Because it could be black people, Jews, Arabs, and so forth. See, with under Biden, what you have is a fascist dimension domestically, especially against black folk and others. You and I, the very fact that we're having this dialogue without being eliminated overnight, a fascist regime could completely call into question with the use of arbitrary power. That's what happens in the mass incarceration regime vis-a-vis poor black people and others. Right?
Okay. Well, wait.
So that is the fascist dimension. Similarly so in terms of militarism abroad.
You're not a poor black person, Cornel. You're a rich black person. So what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, fascism is not okay. First of all, we've been living in fascism since 9/11. Okay, 9/11 was our Reichstag fire. They passed the Patriot Act. That was fascism. So every time people fearmonger about fascism, they are bullshitting you. Okay, we're living in it. I've been living in it my whole goddamn life, and I'm sick of people fearmongering about shit that is already fucking happening. Okay, it's happening. We're living it. People are getting thrown in jail for posting memes, dude. What more do you want? But this guy's out here to say like, oh, because Jay-Z and Oprah Winfrey are allowed to be billionaires, or are, you know, they might get persecuted, and that would be fascism. Like, all right, sure, dude. Like, this dude's an elite. I'm sorry. This guy's not a fucking working class guy. He's a fucking Harvard professor. And he's here to tell all these, like, huddled masses who are getting thrown in jail for posting goddamn memes that, oh, don't vote against Biden. Don't fucking vote for Trump because you'll live in fascism, and, you know, the things that are already fucking happening right now might happen. I'm sick of this shit, dude. I'm so sick of people fear-mongering about fascism when we're goddamn living in it. Like, I'm in the fucking trenches out here, man. We're in the goddamn trenches. And it's just, it's a slave mentality. It's like, oh, don't try to escape because you'll get caught and you'll get whipped. And the master will be mad, and it's the same thing. The more things change, the more they stay the same, man. It's the same exact fucking ideology that these guys, and I'm sorry, I don't care that he's fucking black. I don't fucking care. He works at goddamn Harvard, all right? This guy's goddamn elite. And he's telling you, if you try to revolt, oh, things will get worse for you. You'll get whipped. You'll get, your children will get sold off down the river to the plantation down the... Fuck this guy. I'm sorry. Like, you have nothing to lose but your chains. That's what Marx said. That's fucking base. You have nothing to lose but your chains. That's a revolutionary sentiment. This shit, where he says, oh, well, I don't know. If we fuck around, you know, things will get worse. I'm so goddamn sick of this, man. I'm so goddamn sick of this. This is the same game that Vosh plays. This is the same game that all these leftists play. How long are people going to put up with this? Like, how bad does shit need to get before you realize, yeah, it can't really get worse?
Dude, you're right on point. I mean, I just one thing to add to that. It's like, there's something really ironic about Cornel West speaking out against fascism, and then the next breath saying like, hey, you have to uncritically vote for the other party to stop fascism. You have to support this, that, and the other. And ironically also is the fact that people are saying that to Cornel West as reason for him why he shouldn't run. Like, oh, Cornel West shouldn't run because it's actually going to threaten, you know, like people are making this argument against him and trying to say like, no, you're enabling fascism by challenging Biden and attempting to push the Democratic Party like half an inch to the left, you know, and yet he's going to sit there and talk about how like, oh, you know, we have to stop dude, if you're trying to stop fascism, you're doing a really fucking bad job of it. Like, fascism is clearly won because you have millions of people uncritically going and voting for the same party over and over and over again and being shamed if they try to do the opposite. If they try to not vote, they try to vote third party. If they, God forbid, they vote for the other fucking half of the duopoly and support, you know, the state, the same exact state in a slightly different packaging. It's fucking insane, man. Like, they want people to be as mindless as fuck and just support the same system that oppresses them, you know, and do it by choice. Otherwise, you know, you're a fascist. It's fucking, you know, I don't know. There's a lot more we can get into, but